Thanks for listening to me here tonight. I'm going to start by telling you about my mom. I think every parent tries to teach their child the difference between right and wrong, but my mom went about it in a slightly different way. When I wasn't sure what to do and I asked her, she'd say, "Alanna, just quiet your mind and listen inside yourself to find the answer." Not super useful when you're looking for a quick fix. At university, I took a lecture about Taoism, and when they'd quote the old masters, I kept thinking, wait a minute, my mom always used to say that. So I called her up and I said, "Mom, are we Taoist?" And she quoted Lao Tzu back to me, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." So it turns out I was raised Taoist, but she never said so in so many words. I think that was the beginning of the way I understand leadership. It's based on trust. It's based on trusting that people at the deepest level know what's right and they want to do good, and it's about empowering them to get in touch with that. After university, I lived in Japan for 3 years, working for the Japanese government as a translator. And Japan and America have very different leadership cultures. In America, it's considered good to speak up and be forthright, and you look after yourself so other people don't have to. In Japan, you focus on everyone else before yourself, and everyone else does the same thing. In America, strong leaders are strong individuals like celebrity CEOs. And in Japan, leadership is really about maintaining group harmony. So one way isn't better than the other, they're just very different. When I got back to the US, I really tried to find a balance. I moved into a cooperative house with 22 people. We had a collective budget and decided everything by consensus. It was really fun and really frustrating, and a crash course in what leadership looks like when everyone's there together as equals. So these people were really strong-willed individuals who cared deeply about working together as a group. And that's what I think of as my tribe, the people who lead by combining the best of individuality with the best of community. After that, I moved to London. I got a job in the City of London working for Bloomberg, which is a global company in the financial sector. They put me on the management track and put me on a training course, but what they were teaching me didn't really match what I knew about the way groups work and what really motivates people. I didn't feel like I was finding my tribe. I got involved in organizing the European regional version of Burning Man, which takes place in Spain. So Burning Man is this massive arts festival that takes place in the desert in the US, and it's based on the idea that everyone's a participant, equally responsible for creating the experience together. So this is where I started finding my tribe in Europe. When I turned up, they needed someone to manage the volunteers, and that is the best management training I've ever had. Oops, this is not going. Oh, there we go. It's me, voluntelling. So you're standing in the Spanish desert, it's 48 degrees Celsius, and you've got an entire city to build in just a few days, including a fully wired electrical grid, toilets, shelters, kitchens, a hospital, not to mention a bunch of crazy art installations. You've got 40 volunteers looking to you, and these people are here because they want to be there, and for no other reason. They're smart, they're multi-talented, and completely unruly. You aren't paying them, you can't boss them around, but you won't get anywhere if you don't work together. You've got a lot to get done, and you don't have any time for long meetings. So what do? You get to know them as human beings. What motivated them to be here? What are they good at? What do they suck at but are really keen to learn about? You remind them of your shared vision that brought you together. You give them a framework for connecting. You give them tools and information to make their own decisions. And then you empower them and you stand back. That's how you build a city in a few days with no money changing hands. When I got back to the city, I figured out that really, no matter what position on that ladder I worked my way up to, it wasn't really meaningful to me, so I quit. I had no plan. All I knew was that I really did need to find that work that was genuinely meaningful to me, and I wasn't going to stop until I found it. So I moved to India, I lived in an ashram, I trained as a yoga teacher, I did a lot of volunteering, and that was really meaningful on a certain level, but I realized that to have a real impact, I needed to start empowering others to do meaningful work too, to do more than any one person can accomplish on their own. So I came to New Zealand, and luckily I found my tribe here more than I have anywhere else. Found my home in the Enspiral network, which has a mission to get more people working on stuff that matters. Enspiral is a collective of about 15 social enterprises, companies with a social mission. We've got from tech startups to professional services companies, all kinds. We're a network of artists, business people, technicians, anarchists, hippies, you name it. We're a lab where people experiment with different business structures for social enterprise and see what gains traction in a totally new emerging space. We have a flat structure, there are no bosses, people choose what to work on freely, and we operate based on transparency, minimal ego, and very high trust. We're maximum autonomy and maximum collaboration, which is quite creative tension. In a normal company, I think what I do would be called management, but when I started at Enspiral, my job title was cat herder. When I sign official documents, I sign as director, so people understand what I'm talking about, but job titles, the idea of job titles don't really make sense at Enspiral. If you're thinking this seems like a completely impractical way to run a company, you're absolutely right in some ways. For example, you might be wondering how 150 people across different time zones all make decisions together, and this has been a huge challenge for us. The answer came when Enspiral met Occupy Wellington, and we realized we actually had the same problem. There was no good tool for online distributed collaborative decision making. And I thought if we could build a tool that was equally useful to us as a business and to a group of protesters, we'd probably really have something. So we decided to create one. It's called Loomio. It's a simple open source app that helps groups make decisions together. Everyone can talk at once and every voice is heard. Diverse viewpoints all get considered and outcomes are clear. Groups need far fewer meetings and emails, and participation and engagement go way up. Loomio helps groups that arrive at outcomes together that are better than any one person could come up with on their own. You don't have to compromise between being fast and being democratic, it's both at once. So Loomio is now being used by thousands of people in over 20 countries. It's been translated into Spanish, Greek, and several other languages. Our customers are political movements, NGOs, businesses, governments, schools, community groups, and we haven't even released out of beta yet. You can use Twitter to start a riot, but Loomio is what you use to sew up society afterwards. A year after much of the team was occupying Town Hall's front lawn, Loomio started selling our software back to them. This year, Wellington City Council used Loomio to do their largest public consultation. So we use Loomio itself to make decisions about Loomio, and we've applied the same agile processes we use to develop the software to developing the organization. We're a worker-owned cooperative, and our org structure is Circle. Everyone sets the outcomes that they want to achieve, and an internal steward holds them accountable to that. And we use Loomio to make all our business decisions at Enspiral, but a technological tool really isn't the whole answer. You need the organizational change that goes along with the new participatory way of working. And it's actually really challenging to avoid creating power hierarchies, even if you say you're flat. Power accrues like a natural phenomenon, a bunch of small things adding up to a complex system. And breaking that down takes conscious effort. Like, imagine that you're tasked to pay the bills, so you have access to the bank account, and you think you're just there to push buttons, but before you know it, you're the only one who understands the budget. Other people don't have the information, so you end up making all the calls about finances. I mean, that's the situation that I got into in my role. I would put decisions to the group on Loomio, and people would come back with, oh, I don't know, whatever you think. That's power accrued. As our network grew in size and complexity, we kept using more resources and more people and more time to get things done centrally. And we were getting super stressed out. It was not working. And then we had a big epiphany. It wasn't about more centralization. That's just not what Enspiral was about. So I think my most disruptive active leadership was to make my own job and my entire team obsolete and fire myself. It was really scary. I didn't know what was going to happen. We scaled way back to bare bones, focused everything on more autonomy, more collaboration, and just more trust in people. And what happened? Well, people who wanted to work in different ways split off and created multiple different companies within the Enspiral network and ended up being way more focused and effective that way. I went from having one big job to 5 smaller jobs. And we were forced to innovate our processes to improve real information transparency so people could actually come together and make decisions effectively and participate. We have really transparent accounting. We set our budget collaboratively. Anyone can propose to do work in Enspiral, and if people like their idea enough, it will get funded. We have an accountability working group that then checks in on funded projects, and it's actually working really well. We realize our social mission with projects like Rails Girls, which gets young women interested in programming. Good for Nothing, which brought international experts from around the world to work with NGOs in Cambodia. Social Enterprise Week in Wellington, which is going on in mid-August, and you should totally all come down for it, by the way. And LifeHack, a partnership with the Ministry of Social Development around youth mental health. This kind of disruptive leadership is about bringing people together based on their passions, empowering them, and trusting them. It's about making something so strong that it can stand without you. I'm immersed in a new paradigm, and from where I sit, the old way is really becoming obsolete. The old structures won't fall away because people think they're bad or we'll have some kind of revolution. They'll fall away because we can actually do it better in a new way. We can be more efficient, more agile, more innovative, and people can be happier and more motivated working together on stuff that matters as equals. I think this new paradigm is possible in New Zealand more than anywhere else in the world, and I've lived a lot of places. We can use the tools of business and technology in new ways to create the society we want to live in. To do that, we need leadership based on trust. So to end, and to bring it full circle, I'll leave you with one more quote from Lao Tzu. When a great leader leads, the people are hardly aware that he exists. If a leader does not trust the people will become untrustworthy. The leader doesn't talk, he acts, and works without self-interest, and leaves no trace. And when his work is done, the people will say, "We did it ourselves." Thank you.